Are we all sitting comfortably? Have you got a drink ready for the palaver?
Have
Yeah,
we got?
we would have had a guest, but they've had a few problems. So, and the other standing guest didn't get back to me. So that's that. So tonight we shall be talking different types of haunting, amongst other things. Good evening, Eric,
Hello, Eric.
and take it from the. So,
Yes.
as usual, if there's any questions, just give us a shout. Ooh, what was that? Was that a haunting?
Oh, we have a squeak.
Mm, a notification, it sounds on it. Well, I'm saying, I don't know, because I ain't got a PC. Mine just bleeps and whatever.
Uh,
But there you go.
but,
Would you like to sit us off then tonight?
but I like to pit us off. Well, what can we say? What's the basic? The basic is a residual haunting, isn't it? I mean, we've got many types of hauntings, but I mean some overlap into others. Um, I mean, residual is probably a quite common one that's possibly seen, due to the fact that they don't interact with anyone, which is what many people report when they see such things. I think probably one of the most popular reported one is Anne Boleyn at Hever Castle, isn't it? She
Yeah,
walks across the bridge, and that's all she does.
yeah. There is quite a lot actually, like you say. And the thing is, it's just like the way that I would explain it. It's like watching a video basically on repeat. Evening, Rita. Um,
Uh, Sarah Louise,
evening,
hello.
so yeah, it's basically like watching a video on repeat. So it just keeps rolling over and over and over. Um, and you can't interact with them. You can't say anything. You can't do nothing. And the amount of reports that there's been that this spirit's walked straight through somebody, it's like mist
Yeah,
when you're walking on a muggy evening, and you'll get mist drifting down a drive, and it seems to go straight through you. Well, that's basically what happens with a residual. They just pass straight through you, and there's no way to talk to them. They're just carrying on their old routine. If
yeah,
if they're even sentient, you know what I mean? It's an awkward one to actually explain, because they don't interact and because it's precise every time. Um, what would you call it? Would you call it an intelligent haunting? I wouldn't.
um, no, I mean a full-on residual is basically going on along the stone tape theory. It's basically a recording, isn't it, that just keeps
Yeah,
looping back. Um,
yeah,
Not to say that something that people would consider uh, a residual might not necessarily be so. They're just completely unaware of anything that's going on around them, so they
yeah.
don't interact. That
Yeah, they're
possibility.
stuck in time, isn't it? They're literally stuck in time. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, that explains that one. And then you've got intelligent
intelligent.
haunting, where they will interact, but they just interact and nothing else. They will just play for the camera. Um, you see, we've talked about it that many times, and it's like I've said, there is very few machines, very few pieces of equipment that I put storing trigger objects such as what Eric makes. Um, They can be useful, definitely useful as indicators. I do also really like lasers,
Yeah,
because lasers react very, very weirdly with spirit, because of course they're going to pass through the spirit,
Yeah,
but
but
they
they
also
refract the light slightly, so you
yeah,
can see the
yeah,
movement. Yeah,
exactly. So I did see. I'm not good with tech, but anybody that could come up with like infrared, but using a laser instead, so that it's like a tripwire. So you'll get the visual as the spirit's passing through it, but it will also trigger, such as what Eric makes, something like that.
hello, William.
I think, evening, William. I think that'd be brilliant, because I've
Yeah,
not seen anybody use it. I've not seen anybody do that. I've seen them use infrared, but
yeah,
that's good for things that's living, and you catch mice and rats and all damn sorts. But to use a laser that's not literally visible until something passes through it, I
yeah,
think that would be very, very good for camera as well as. So,
yeah. Eric's
yeah,
looked into it.
it'd
Yeah,
be good, Eric. It'd be really good. That
we don't want military grade lasers, Eric.
no, 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 no. Just tops of 12 volt.
Hello, Robert.
Hearing Robert. So yeah, they would be good for intelligent hauntings, because you can place them about, can't you?
Yeah.
I've noticed with residual, you don't seem to get you just see them. It's as simple as that. And I've noticed a lot of equipment doesn't actually work with
No,
residual,
which proves
which is odd.
the recording theory, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But with an intelligent thing,
And
I don't like SLS. I just don't like it, because it's an app, and for me, all it's doing is trying to make sense of its surroundings. So anything whatsoever that could be misinterpreted as a stick figure, it will try to make a stick figure out of.
yeah, fully agree with that. I mean, it's the same in most equipment. You've got to back it up with something else.
Yeah.
You know, I've done it myself. I've got an SLS, and you go around, and it will something that's almost humanoid. It will try and map it out.
Yeah.
Whether it be lines in a curtain, suddenly
Yeah.
you think there's a ghost beyond the curtain, but there ain't.
Exactly. But you spend more time then with this, looking at this equipment and talking to equipment. That takes away from everything that we did when we first started with. There was none of this equipment anyway. The only things that we did have was the old-fashioned stuff. We did have cat balls.
Yeah.
They weren't as sensitive as what they are now, but we did have cat balls, and similar things to that. And with your what they call them, the court machines, shape of a coffin.
Aye?
Little handheld machines, what they call them. It's just gone, flown.
K2?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
We've always had EMF meters, haven't we?
Well, what we used to use, the early doers, was
Y meters, wasn't it?
Well, an RF meter with a dummy load on it and a battery, because they only needed a 9-volt battery for it to calibrate. They were made for CBs, obviously, but we adapted stuff just like people are doing today. But nobody's used them these days. They just don't use them, and they can be applicable. An RF meter is a really good thing, a field strength in it. So it would work. Well, they do work. I've had what's that?
Robert says, "Do ghosts know you're there?"
Of course they do. If it's an intelligent haunting, of course they do, and they plague you. They torment you. They'll be upstairs when you're down, and they'll be downstairs when you're up. Just get. And they know.
Oh, yeah, they like to play around like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, yes, Robert, they do play with the toys. But funny enough, we were at the Kent Life Museum. I'm not a big fan of cat balls, but they had one there. It was sat on an ironing board, and just to add to it, it was on a concrete floor, so it wasn't us making it go. But we were having a conversation with something that was there, and it was answering questions. And typical me being, the investigator I am, I will ask questions in a different way to see if you get the same answer. And it was giving us the same answers. So, yeah, they will interact with certain equipment.
And here's one that I've always used. I've stopped using it for some reason, probably because I can't get hold on some decent stuff anymore, and that's talc.
Yes.
And an object, talc and an object, or just a sheet of paper. I mean, a sheet of paper can be,
And a trigger object, yeah.
it can be a bit dodgy though, a sheet of paper, because you could get something to lift that quite easily. It's good visually, but what I tend to do, and another thing as well, using a cross. I have used anything but a cross, and I have a separate table with a cross on it. And for some reason, don't know why,
Yeah, the cross
I
that
have
moves. Yeah.
no. I have a very little response to the cross, but
All right.
anything else, I've had good results.
Yeah, rather than a sheet of paper, the kids at the school have got these little, the white wall boards.
Yeah,
Yeah,
chalkboard. Yeah,
they do small ones for the desk. Have one of them with a whiteboard pen,
yeah.
and then you draw around the object. That would be better than a piece of paper because it won't blow away.
Yeah, true. But what we did with the talc, we put it across a threshold.
Yes, yeah,
Definitely wider than a step, so you couldn't sort of stride over it. You would
yeah,
actually catch it, at least catch it.
yeah.
So say a meter in depth, across a threshold. So you've got to go through that door hole somewhere or another. So you're going to stand on it. And that works fantastic. And I've had some really, really weird things. Yes, I've had the obligatory cat. Yes, I've had the dog. The weird thing about it, though, on more than one occasion, the cat or the dog, they didn't own a cat or a dog. So it was in spirit, which is good. What's that one?
Yeah. Hello, Rose.
Yep, evening, Rose. Is it Rose? Yeah.
Robert says, I have a problem. How can a ghost speak without a voice box? Yeah, this is something I did with Brian J. Cano when I'm out with him in Nottingham. And Jacqueline Dixon was there. Brian's looked at this. EVPs, how do they do an EVP? Now, I like Brian because he's one of these guys that not only, right, we've got the evidence. The question is, how did we get it? And he did an experiment where we picked a word and we all agreed on this word. It was completely unique. And then we sat all there silent. We put the EVP recorder in and we had to think the word in your head in different ways, shout it in your head, but all in silence. And then he played it back and we actually got this word on the recorder 10 times. Now, the question of that is, we must have transferred that onto there, which is how spirits must be able to communicate. Because, as you say, they've got a voice box, so they must just think it and transfer that thought.
And I've got a different explanation.
Oh, go on then. We like controversy.
Yeah, exactly. And it's quite simple, really. And it's frequency. Again, it comes back to
Well,
frequency. One of the little things, a little gadget that used to be out in 80s, early 90s. And I don't know if you remember that you used to be able to buy these, what's this? Some of this size. That's me, me puffer, like for me ticker. But something that size, and you used to buy lollies and stick them in this little gadget. And when you put the lolly in your mouth, you could hear a song. You remember them?
Yeah, I think, vaguely.
Well, how could you hear them? Because there were no noise coming from it whatsoever. You could only hear the song when you put that lolly in your mouth.
Yeah.
Frequency.
Yeah.
So if you can do that, then obviously if we found something on them lines and asked the question and this, that, t'other, instead of it being the gadgets that we've got today, you never know. We might. We could put that gadget in your mouth, ask the question, and you might be able to hear it in your head.
Yeah, true.
It's not being done, has it? So
No,
there
this is
you
true.
go again.
Another experiment to try.
Exactly.
Yeah, William's saying there are a few ways. Almost most groups use voice boxes, Ouija boards, etc. Yeah, I mean, they all have different ways of communicating. Some find some things easier than others. So I guess there's a learning thing when you pass.
Yeah. Plus, it would explain that frequency thing. Would explain because,
Yes.
as you know, sometimes you can get an EVP on a recorder, but you can't hear it with your own ears.
Yeah.
And
So,
vice versa.
yes.
Vice
Yeah,
versa.
yeah, yeah.
Sometimes you can hear it, but it don't. Your gadget don't pick it up. So
No.
that would explain frequency as well. Maybe
As
they
well.
all work on different frequencies.
Yeah, as well. I mean, I always now take two voice recorders because even they pick up different frequencies. My cameras pick up different frequencies to each other, and you will get responses even though you don't know at the time because the voice recorders haven't picked it up. But when I'm playing back, the camera's picked it up. So I know we've talked about this many times before. It'd be great if somebody could design a device that you walk into the room and it will tell you what frequencies are emitting in that room.
Yes.
And then you can set a radio to that exact frequency and you'll basically be able to have a conversation.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Somebody that's autistic, I don't mean that in a bad way, it's a good thing because they're fantastic with figures
Yes.
and things like that. So, and they study, they're really studious. So I would suggest that someone like that look into, you mentioned it earlier, stone tape theory. When does that tend to happen? I'm not telling you, Robert. Not what I'd like to anyway. Lipstick, what about? We've got no tummy go. Anyway,
Yeah. He's getting ready for tomorrow night when he goes under his other name.
Let me drag out.
Is it Brianna?
Don't be telling everybody. No, that's stone tape theory. 9 times out of 10, if you've noticed, when you get these places that are reputed to, you can hear, put your head or your ear to the wall and this, that, to the. What qualities do they have in common? 90%, for my knowledge anyway, a sandstone. And
Yes.
what has sandstone got in it that not other rocks have got a lot of? Quartz.
Yeah.
So if you can marry that frequency again up, we might be onto something there and listen to them frequencies. because
Yeah.
we're using his ears, so it's very selective because everybody hears at different frequencies. For example, a dog whistle, there is a certain few people can hear them.
Yeah.
I can't, but probably you can because we're all listening on different frequencies. It runs into a box. Let's face it, a graph if you want to call it, but we overlap. So I'm there in the middle. You could be there and there, so you can hear higher frequencies. Robert, for example, might be there and there, which is lower frequencies. You know, but we work on roughly similar frequencies, but they're not all the same. So that's why when you walk into a room and somebody else says, "Did you hear that?" and they'll go,
So yeah.
"Yeah,
So basically, if we were looking for the ghost of Barry White, we'd need Robert with us then,
yeah."
because we wouldn't hear him.
No, but it explains a lot, doesn't it? We take
Yeah,
it for
yeah, it
granted.
does.
Human beings take it for granted that we are so sublime and so above everything else, and we're not. We've got limitations, and they
The
are
animal kingdom is
frequency.
far exceeds us when it comes to senses.
Exactly. I mean, octopus, for example. Who would have thought that they could hear as good as us, and
Yeah.
they're underwater?
Yeah, exactly.
Hello, baby. All right, love.
He's doing Barry White now in a deep voice.
I can't. I used to have a deep voice, weirdly enough, and then they found a bit of cancer on my voice box. I got laryngitis, but the consultant knew what he was looking at, and he got rid of it. But when my voice came back, it's not been as deep as it was.
Yeah. So you had the frequency change.
Cool. yeah, frequency change. It's same with my ears. I didn't realise. I'll be honest. I mean, you don't because you compensate, but I didn't realise that I'm one ear's better than other one. I thought I was pretty good, pretty balanced until I put headphones on once. I thought these are broke. They're broke, and I'm turning one up, and yeah, it's weird. But that's age, obviously, and conditions. Same with these. I never ever had dreamt that I'd need glasses, but I do to read. Can see a gnat fart at 100 yards, but can't see close up anymore.
Well,
Crazy.
yeah. According to my daughter's optician, it's hereditary, and he told her, "Oh, both your parents, wear glasses," and she went, "No, my dad don't."
Yeah.
She goes, "Well, he must need them." She goes, "I think he'd know. He's an engineer."
Yeah. Are we talking about you here, Ian?
Yes.
Oh, I'm not saying no then. I was just thinking milkman, because I'm convinced that, yeah, my daddy wasn't my daddy, I'm telling you, because I'm totally opposite to my dad.
Well, there you go.
That's another story.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's intelligent hauntings are probably the most, but the most we will come up against as investigators, or else we wouldn't be getting evidence at all. Which is probably a good thing. Otherwise, if we were consistently getting residual, visual is all we would ever get. But
Exactly. I think we need to. I know we've talked about it before, but again, poltergeist hauntings.
yes,
The word poltergeist literally means noisy ghost or noisy spirit.
yeah,
But people are using the word totally and utterly out of context. When they talk, majority of people, when they talk about poltergeist, they're actually describing entities or something not so much human based.
yeah,
For me, See, I've always known the term. So poltergeist to me is just a noisy spirit. It's a spirit that lets itself known that it's there, and it wants you to know that it's there. These
Yeah.
are the spirits that move things about, and that's another type of haunting. So they might never speak. They're just so angry and so frustrated that they throw things about.
And this
Basically,
and this again is another overlap where they can be an intelligent haunting, but just because they're not getting any attention from anybody, they then become poltergeists because they're creating mischief to get attention.
yeah.
And
And the
then
frequency date changes. The
yes,
atmosphere, the
yeah,
atmosphere is thick with a poltergeist because of that energy that they expand, or yeah, to move things.
yes. And then also, I mean, we've come across it several times. Although it's classed under the same umbrella as poltergeist activity, yes, it can be caused by spirit, but it can also be caused by the living, which we've come across several times.
Yeah,
Even though it's most commonly associated with teenage girls, that is not always the case.
no,
It can be teenage boys, it can also be adults that are completely unaware that they can do it. And it's
exactly.
a build up of stressful energy where they're frustrated and they don't even know they're causing it.
Well, and again, it just for me when you correlate things like this and piece everything together with evidence, it shows frequency again, and the
Yeah.
subtle changes.
No.
As I said, the theory that I have with still nobody's done it yet. Somebody's got to do it at some stage. Yeah,
That'll be
yeah.
us. Yeah.
Pylons,
Yeah.
high-powered pylons. The biggest sightings up and down country from people that do not believe in spirit or ghost, but they see something. They tend to see it underneath or around high-powered pylons. And for me, the reason for that is the frequency or static that it's giving off makes these pylons become like a camera trap, a wildlife camera trap, so
Yeah.
that when a spirit passes by it, it becomes visible.
Yeah.
That to me, it's a fact. Well, I've seen it. I've actually seen it. Um,
So
Stocksbridge bypass is
yeah.
well known all over the country. And I've seen the spirit there, so I investigated it. The story that goes about it is totally wrong because I've spoke to the spirits involved. But it's fascinating that
Hmm.
it became visible round the pylon.
So what we need, Eric, if you're listening, is a portable pylon.
Something that causes static in that particular frequency. Yeah.
Yeah. So we need to find out what frequency it's giving out.
And it's different, isn't it? I
Well,
believe
yeah.
it's different in America to Europe because Europe's on 240 volts and a lot of American are on 110, is it?
A lot of
Yeah,
Europe are
right.
one thing.
Well, yeah, but I think it's generators, isn't it? Mainly generators are 110, I think, rather than 240. So maybe it's something to do with that. I don't know. I ain't got a clue. And I don't think it's all states.
Plus,
I just think it's some of
don't
them.
forget as well, in this country we're free phase, so you can have 415 volt on a pylon, which is even
Yeah.
higher.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it would explain why it seems to be more common in Britain.
Yeah. Eric's saying that there's hauntings that follow people. Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I've mentioned this before, how spirit move. People seem to think that they can just go wherever they want willy-nilly. And I suppose mentally they can.
Yeah.
But over time, I've found out that spirit tend to be unless they're what they call a free spirit, whereas that's where the term came from. They tend to be bound to the location. Even if they're intelligent entities, they seem to be bound to that location.
Yeah.
They don't seem to move. But there is transient, there is gypsies in the spirit world that travel around. And how they do it, I don't know.
Well, I'm guessing you've got those who have crossed over and those that haven't, which is what we
Yeah.
initially class as a ghost.
Yeah.
Family members that I've had appear, visit me, whatever, they would have crossed over because they wouldn't have had any reason not to. And I presume they're the ones that can go anywhere because there's nothing restricting them. But
Yeah.
what we class as a ghost that is never left this plane will probably be stuck to what they know.
Yeah.
So
From what I've noticed, the ones that don't have the ability to float or move wherever they want, their method of transport is like a cape. If you can imagine, you put a cape on, and then you're carrying them, basically. You're carrying that spirit. And it seems to work that way because, like I've mentioned before, when people get scratched, they tend to get scratched at back at neck or on the back.
yeah,
And spirit can travel in that manner because you don't think to look behind you. You can't see what's on your back. So it's literally like they put their arms around you and that you're carrying them, basically. These are spirits that you don't want to be taking home with you, type of thing.
yeah.
Oh,
Robert Ford's he's talking about a Van de Graaff,
right.
and Eric saying do a Tesla coil generated at 240. Yeah, give us 415, Eric. It'll be even better.
Well, that's why they came in with them plasma balls, didn't they?
Yes.
When you touch them, the spike all round where you're touching them. And we've played with them. We've used them for lots of different things. I don't think they're on correct frequency for spirit, unfortunately. Be nice if they were. What's that one? If only some ghost people would take the time to study subject. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is it. But again, everything's on a frequency, as you know, with that. So maybe they're limited as well. We're limited to certain frequencies, and maybe when they go into ethereal world, they lose. They're on a different frequency because they're not carrying the body, the carbon-based body anymore. So it's changed. It's changed that frequency. They can't possibly be on the same frequency, but you can communicate. Like I mentioned with a dog whistle. Some people can hear it and some people can't. Well, that's a good analogy for me because maybe they're that dog whistle in spirit.
Yeah. So
not everybody can see them. Not everybody can hear them.
Yeah.
We know they're there, but
Well, we know that the animals can because we've I've witnessed them reacting to stuff that's not there.
Exactly.
So
aliens, for example, a lot of people explain aliens as being three-dimensional. Well, different. What's the word? Different. Come on, help me out, Ian. different dimensions in a different dimension.
Yeah.
I used to take my dog for a walk religiously every night on this little path onto the field. And I'd seen this, what I thought were a star, basically, little bright star in distance. And I kept looking at it. And weirdly enough, dog kept looking up into the sky. Now, dogs don't do that. They're built so that their noses are other dogs' asses' height or looking at floor, aren't they? So it's very rare that you're going to see them looking uphill, look up, especially up into the sky.
Yeah.
And as I'm walking on this path, barely big enough for one person, there's another bloke walking his dog. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is why I used to take her on a night, because she weren't nasty or out like that, but she'd be fussy. So I'm thinking, oh no, another dog might have a bit of a tussle here. No, nothing of the sort. And he were looking back. As I were walking on, he's looking back. He says, are they looking at the same as me, Cock? He says, it's moving. I said, it is and all. So we're stood there, dogs fussed for less than 10 seconds, and then sat at side of each other, looking at exactly what we were looking at, which was weird. And you got that vibe, you got that feeling, something were going off. Anyway, we stood there and looked, and this star didn't get any bigger, which was the weirdest thing about it. It didn't get any bigger at all, but it were moving steadily. Yes, but like a conventional craft, like an helicopter. So as it got closer, we're expecting to see a searchlight and it, to start making a noise. There was none of that. It was the same size, no noise whatsoever. And it got smack above us and stopped dead.
Yeah.
And both dogs are looking at it. And then it went loads of weird positions and shot off. I says, look, weird as I live, because nobody's going to believe this. They're going to be thinking we've had a pint on path. And I've seen things, nothing like that, obviously, but I've seen things before. But that I'll never forget it. Never forget it. And again, where did it come from? Where did it go? What frequency were it on? Because for dogs to watch it, it obviously got their attention. You know, it's something that wouldn't normally.
Yeah.
What's that?
William says animals and wildlife belong to the element of earth.
Yeah, exactly. But it got whatever it was, got their attention, and I don't think it was from this planet anyway. It weren't from Earth.
Alternate reality is just another frequency. Yep.
Exactly. But what? What were it? You know, I've got no explanation whatsoever. I've seen some things in my time, really have. I've seen ball lightning. It's come into house and passed through house. So there's no scarier than that. I'll tell you now.
Yeah.
To see a bright red ball, well, basically like a mini sun, float through your house and make your hair stand on end. I've had that happen twice, actually. I was stood on school field with mates. It was 1978, one of the hottest summers I've ever known. It was that hot. We weren't even chasing ball. We were just kicking it to each other and then standing still. And I'd seen, not a cloud in the sky, I'd seen this like little black pencil in distance on the horizon. And slowly but surely it got closer and got closer. And as it got closer, it went from a pencil to an oval. And then it got over the top on us. It was like just a dinner plate, a black dinner plate. And it let go of this hailstone until it disappeared. And it put a layer about an inch thick of hailstone onto this school field. And because it was that hot, it melted straight away and it gave us a solid fog just taller than us. So we started playing hide and seek. And obviously, as it evaporated, it got lower and lower and lower until we were laid on his belly like army men, sticking his head up, trying to play hide and seek. Oh man, I've witnessed some phenomena. Let's put it that way. But as it was letting this hailstone go, because it's static, I had long hair back then. I think you've seen picture that I put up. I was like Brian May, and it shot straight up and it was waving towards this cloud with static while it was hailstoning. Then it just went, obviously.
I mean, I mean, my cameraman over time, he's actually shown me stuff while we've been out investigating, and we were outside in some cases. He's caught. All I can describe it as is the shape of a Toblerone box,
Oh yeah.
and sort of red, and it's almost like it's got rods in it. Now, he's not the only person I know that said they've caught stuff like that. And that's just another weird. What are they?
No, exactly. The last one I saw, the last UFO or phenomena that I've ever seen. Yeah, exactly. Well, they're sensitive to higher frequencies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was one of these triangle craft. I'm saying triangle craft because I couldn't actually see the outline of it. But what I did see was a red, green, and blue light.
Yeah.
No yellow, no nothing like that. A red, blue, and green light on like triangle shape.
Yeah.
I say that because they were traveling at exactly the same speed. Now, if you'd have connected the dots, the lights, we're talking of something the size of a football pitch, if not bigger. It was huge. And it wasn't me that saw it, it was my ex at the time. She saw one light because we were sat outside. Again, it was a nice night. We're having a drink outside. And she saw this one light. And she said, "What's that up there?" I said, "What?" I couldn't see because the house across road. So I started walking up street to see it. And I noticed there were three of them. And they seemed to be following motorway M1 north.
Yeah.
And there was four of us there, and we all ended up seeing this and watched it disappear. These three lights disappear into distance. They weren't traveling particularly fast, as what you would think fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, no noise whatsoever. They just travelled north, following M1 in line. What were it? I don't know, but they were in a triangular shape. Even though, because it was dark, couldn't see. I looked and looked for any other people that had reported it, and yes, sure enough, roundabout Leeds, which says that they did carry on travelling and following this. Well, it did. Motorway M1. There have been sightings in Leeds. Makes you wonder though how many people do see these things and don't report it or don't say out to anybody.
Well, yeah.
Yes, I would say so. Robert, definitely. It's like hearing, like I mentioned earlier, you probably didn't hear me mention it, that we all hear things on a slightly different. We tuned into a box, shall we say, a drain pipe, but some are overlapped one side and some are overlapped other side. So some can hear higher frequencies, some can hear lower frequencies. We're all much of a muchness, but there is people can hear slightly higher. There is people that can hear slightly lower frequencies. So yeah definitely. We are tuned differently.
Yeah.
Same as a musical instrument, a stringed instrument. You can have 100 guitars, and if you've got a piece of equipment that's listening for a certain frequency and only that frequency, every single guitar will be slightly different. And that's why some said that some's better made than others. It's not that they're made any better. They just work on a different frequency, which is nice to the ears.
Yeah. Yeah. Robert's still doing his Barry White impression.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, I mean, so we've stemmed off a poltergeist and gone into the UAPs, as they're now called.
Don't we always?
But yeah, I mean, they're becoming more common these days. I mean, lots of people are beginning to keep an eye out for them. And I think that's the key. People weren't paying attention before. Now,
Yeah, I've got to be honest. Again, I think a lot of it is technology's still moving at a pace, and you have to be wary of that because how many of these sightings are drones?
yeah, there is that.
There is a lot of that,
I
unfortunately.
mean,
Because
I know we had a recent one which was it in the last year. This big jelly. They said they had this jellyfish thing floating. It turned out to be a plastic bag. But
there's a hell of a lot of Americans seem to do that. And what again, what they don't do because they're quite amateur in what they're doing, and they're trying to use a mobile phone. You know yourself through filming and everything. We have to use a gimbal, even if we're just doing close-up stuff, because the further away you get, any slight little movement, and that whatever you're trying to focus on, up in sky in clouds,
yeah,
it's moving all over the place, and they think it's that. It's not. It's your own hands that's making it move.
yeah.
It's crazy. But amount of people that don't click to that. They think, "Oh, look at it! It's doing this. It's doing." No, it's not. You're doing it. And it's a plastic bag, like you say. It could be all sorts of debris. Once you get into trade winds, them trade winds, they're strong. They can carry a lot of things. What
But
were
then
it back in? What were it back in 80s and 90s? The big thing in 80s and 90s, we had a spate of people using Chinese lanterns.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Big
there were
size.
lots and lots of sightings of various things because you can make a Chinese lantern look like anything, really.
Oh yeah, yeah. And of course, when it's going up, it just looks like a bright light cruising through the sky.
Well, you're
But,
right, Robert. Yeah.
well,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's loads of things. There's loads of things that I can't take. I'm sorry. It's just me. It's my opinion. I just can't take UFO community seriously a lot of time because there is too much fakery. Too much fakery. If you're gonna do it the way that squatchers do it, and be uh, rather than accepting, be a little bit more skeptic yourselves. You know what I mean? That
yeah. I
they
mean,
tend, yeah, they
no
tend to
matter
believe
how much,
anything.
no matter how much of a believer you are, you've got to approach everything with a skeptical mindset.
Well, exactly. I mean, of it since we had all these lockdowns and everything else, I started doing churches, and out of said just 100 churches that I've filmed, I've got an activity in half a dozen, and that's our objective. You've got to be. You've got to be skeptical of yourself sometimes because what you think is something out of ordinary might not be. It might be a perfectly logical explanation.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Rita. Yeah,
Thank you. But then it's like that, don't it? And this is what people call it ghost hunting. I don't like that term, me. Um,
did you hear a cough? It could have been my wife. She's in the kitchen.
yeah. It's like one day, I still can't explain everything, but I did this little church. There was a little bit of a breeze outside, but nothing to call out. And I got inside this church, and it sounded from the inside like there was a gale force wind hitting this church. Everything was rattling in it. And I walked down central aisle, and I stood on this, what can only be described as a hatch into, well, a crypt, because that's the only things you're going to find underneath the church. really,
Yeah.
unless it's a heating duct, something like that. But
Yeah.
there were no heating in the place. It hadn't even been renovated, so there was just this hatch, and I stood on it, and it literally lifted me off the floor. It made my feet tremble, and I'm thinking, what the hell is this? And I can't explain it. I still can't explain it to this day. But I will go back to see if the same thing happens again. And if it does, there must be some sort of bad effect wind-wise, because I did notice as I was walking to it, what was the bell tower was no longer there.
Yeah.
It had lost its bell tower, so it had either fell in or blown off. For me, it must have blown off because there were no debris inside or any evidence of it coming through. The roof was still intact. You know, the hatch where usually it strings, bells come down, front belfry, they were still there. The bell itself was on a window ledge, still inside church.
Yeah.
So they just literally made it solid and left it as it were. They'd never bothered putting a new turret on. But it just shows, doesn't it? What causes it then? What's causing that wind turbulence? I didn't go right back at church, so I don't know. There might have been a massive almighty fan at back on it. I don't know. But I couldn't explain it. What's that?
William says that's why I've always said cameras don't tell the whole story. No,
But
you're
they do.
completely right there, mate.
Yeah, you can manipulate them. You can manipulate them, obviously.
And,
But they're good for evidence.
you know, and I'm always saying it when people post ghost pictures. It's different if it's just a photograph that's been taken, and later on you suddenly think, "Oh, what's that in the picture?" But it's people on investigations who are out doing an investigation and take a picture and then go, "Oh, what's this in the picture?" You know, I've always said, if you're going to take a picture of something, take 5 or 6 different pictures.
Yeah.
And then you could compare them. If there's something appears in one and it's not in the others, then you've got, guaranteed bit of evidence. But you don't know what's caused. Someone could have walked past behind you and there's a reflection in something. There are many, many reasons for, certain creations of, ghostly images. And you need to be able to eliminate them. You can't eliminate when you've only got one picture.
Yeah, and I won't put store in something that's out of focus. The things that can happen with cameras and lenses and the way that a camera tries to make an image, a bit like what we mentioned earlier with SLS. But because it's a lens, it's trying to make sense of what it's looking at. It's just like squinting, basically. If you squint at something, you can make it look totally different in your mind's eye. But it's caught on camera. It's caught as a picture. If it's out of focus, I won't even consider it's a spirit. I just dismiss it because that's not, to me, that it's just not evidence. And there's far too many people put store in these pictures that's out of focus and said, "Oh, look, I've got a ghost." No, you haven't. You've got something that's out of focus. So how can you say it's spirit? I won't use it as evidence. It's nice.
Yeah.
I like pareidolia. Some pareidolia pictures are fantastic, but are they spirit?
Yeah, exactly.
They've got to be in focus. I've done smoke ones. Did you see that one on my page? Well, I sent you it, didn't I?
Yes.
That was fantastic. That was fantastic because it was actually in focus.
Yeah.
So it weren't just random smoke. It was literally the face of a man.
And the smoke has just captured it. Yeah.
Yeah, but there were a hound. It's like he was sat stroking the hound.
Yeah.
So, You could even sort of say what type of hound it was. It was that clear.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people out in the field that have tried dry ice and that to capture spirits. You know, they pump out dry ice so it fills the room out and then start taking pictures.
Yeah.
I know, there's been little success, but the success that they have had has been quite good.
Well, exactly. But how many investigations and how many experiments, like I said, because of atmosphere, it's caused the camera anomalies. So they're not clear. I will not class that as evidence. I'll just say, well, it was an experiment. We'll try it again.
Yeah.
And if we can get some clear image, yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. I think William's talking about your windy church. He says someone blew off during the investigation.
Yeah. Any more of it, I'll tell you now, it would have been me. Because it did put wind up me. But because I do a lot on my own, and I were on my own that day.
Yeah.
It was odd. It was definitely odd because, weirdly enough, like I said, I got back outside church.
Yeah.
And that wind that it sounded like there was when I was inside, it weren't there.
No.
It weren't there. You know, like when you're going for a walk and you're at the top of a hill, and that wind's bitter in this that. So you try to get in lieu of a wall or something, and it suddenly drops.
Yeah.
Well, do that in reverse. It was like that in reverse. That's how weird it was, because the wind was there when you were inside. You were getting the effect of the wind. Then when you came out, it weren't half as bad as what it sounded.
Yeah. Robert's saying best one was the person's mother in the back of an old car. Yes, that's a very well known picture. That one.
Yeah,
that was his mother's funeral.
Yeah.
He'd got back from the funeral. And his wife took a picture of him sitting in the car, and his mother's in the back. Quite a freaky picture, that one. But yeah, how legit is it?
Well, exactly. Well, as you know, I mean, I've had quite a lot. I just tend not to publicise them. I don't.
Yeah.
You know, I don't. They're on my phone. It's as simple as that. So if people want to see them, I'll show them. But I don't post them. That's the word. I don't post a lot. But you've seen some of the stuff that I've got, which is
Yes. I've got some very interesting pictures as well, and what can I say? I've had, it wasn't just a. Well, I will give an inkling. I had a wedding photo taken, and what appears to be my grandfather kissing me on the cheek. Now, the backup to that is this was taken by one of the guests who was at an angle to us. The photographer who was directly in front of us, every single picture came out blurred. She took about 18 pictures of us stood under this arch.
Yeah.
And they all came out blurred, so she deleted them. The one picture that came out clear was somebody took it from the side.
Yeah.
And you can actually see my grandfather's face. And actually, down the side of me, I'm quite blurry. So I can imagine, I said to the photographer, your camera shouldn't have done that. And I said, I would presume you took the photograph through it. But I actually showed her the other picture, and she was mesmerized. She couldn't believe it. She said, wow.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, it just reminded me of that last church that I did other day. Little place, Edlington. It's a disillusioned church. I did get an atmosphere when I got in there. It was freezing. Trust me, it was freezing. There was no dust whatsoever. It was just too cold for anything to be floating, basically. Yeah. But I didn't notice till I actually looked at I've even posted it and didn't notice until I actually sat and looked at it, because I tend not to look at my own footage. I just post it. And I saw something that resembled, well, it was an orb-ish, but it was, I can't explain it. It was moving towards me in a shape form, So the colour was like an orb. The light, it was a light anomaly, but it came towards me. It's only a split second, but it's there.
Yeah.
I had the same thing at RAF Bimbrook, but this shadow, it was an orb style figure, but it came up steps, and you could clearly see an arm and shoulders as it came up steps towards me. You know, I get a lot of that type of thing on camera, but I don't actually. I can sense them, but I can't see them with my own eye until I look back on camera.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of that. There's loads of orbs on my stuff, and they are orbs. There is times when obviously it's dust, but I can clearly see it's dust. I did a farmhouse, and the place was absolutely heaving with dust. Couldn't see it with my eyes, but you could see it on camera. It was floating everywhere. But there's a difference, and until you show that, because you'll get a lot of people saying, "Ah, it's just dust." You'll get a lot of people saying, "Yeah, it's just stuff off your kite." But until you see the difference between an orb and dust,
And a light anomaly. Yeah.
mm. And I
Yeah,
do
I mean,
get people saying,
I've captured light anomalies at my first instinct. That's either dust or an insect.
yeah,
And
but
it
you
was
can tell we've been doing it long enough.
yeah, it was travelling across the room, but then it went past some furniture, and it actually went in and out of the furniture through solid wood. And I
Yeah,
thought, hang on a minute, that's no
yeah,
insect, that's no dust.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. Anyway, oh my
yes,
gosh, it's gone 9 o'clock already.
it has.
I was
But,
going to mention another little investigation I did as well, but we'll save it for another day.
yeah, we're going to save it for another day. Well, thank you all for joining us.
Yeah,
It's been an entertaining discussion tonight.
and we'll catch you all again, and we'll do it all again next week.
Next week.
Unless we've got a guest, which we might possibly have.
Yes.
But we shall see. We'll let you know in the week. So stay
will.
tuned and watch all the other shows, and we'll catch you on the flip flop, as we used to say on CB. Good night, everybody, from
Yep.
me.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.